Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah. And so, because I guess, a lot of the directors and everybody go over to the American Airlines Center for things. So I guess they got first notice. So that's how I found out.
Three, 4, 5 months to buy something. So if you know anybody looking for small tracks, not your 9, like maybe 200,000.
What location?
Pardon me?
At what location?
Hour and a half around here. This is like my hunting range. So it doesn't have
okay.
to be pretty, I might do a barn dominium later. I'm an archer, so 50, 30 acres, which is, wooded.
Okay,
Can be,
no way in New York.
where?
You need to look,
I don't have my ducks in a row either, so.
right, but just keep your eye out south and look in Whitney area.
Whitney, okay, south.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking
You need to go.
north.
Can't afford that.
Oklahoma.
Well, you could.
But then there's
Texas-
East Texas, and then East Texas, you have to deal with East Texas.
I mean,
You know,
I'm not well versed in east at all.
I'm learning.
I wish, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, but I'm not well versed
just
enough.
picking people's brains. Especially if something pops up and you go, oh, that's so cute, it's 30 acres.
You could go
You might
west,
go, oh, wait, they might be
but I don't think it's the terrain that you're looking for because it's too.
Thank you for
flats open.
being interviewed.
No.
I had this on my list.
It's too, have you ever been to Stephenville before?
Take it off your list. Goodbye.
I've been,
It's
probably, I
fresh
drove
off-
through it.
There's
Still warm,
like
dude.
cactus on the ground.
Yes.
and
Fresh off the press. Still warm.
It's heat flat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you would.
There's tons of deer there and other things.
I like
I
that.
just
That
use
would-
my tree stand.
You'd have to be in a
Hospital down there.
big bunch to,
Yeah.
it would be a little tougher. I mean, I've sold a hunting ranch out there in Stephenville, Mahan area.
For a couple of sessions. Yeah.
And the same thing too, if you hear anybody like a mom and pop trying to, like a lease, the hunting lease as well, keep me. It was just all my buddies, they're like, oh, well, I got $5,000 in the hill country and I shoot
Largest.
Yeah, 5 miles away or 5 hours away and $5,000. I'll get divorced if I'm spending that much money. And that's what I had at one time. You had like 200, something realistic for me to go just with my daughter once in a while or
So you,
something crazy.
you bow hunt? Do you only like to do deer?
No, I'll shoot anything with a bow.
You need to come to my place. No, I'm not joking.
There's an old joke that says.
They're a real estate agent hunts my land and they kill, last year they killed 37.
It's a hecker, that's exactly the word. Yeah.
Oh,
When you
yeah.
usually
Oh my
phone
gosh,
the
One
creditor,
was
it's like, yeah,
like-
your name's crap, your name's.
500 is like.
That's all he does. Now,
I have a night vision. I do have the night vision.
Yeah, don't take
rifle.
your daughter to that.
Sounds funny now, it wasn't
Well,
funny
I do.
then.
It's fun. My buddy does that. We do thermals.
Yeah.
He's got the $5,000 thermals, but I have a night vision.
I remember.
We do that for hawks. But during the day or whatever. I'll do it.
Okay, why do people use a hawk? Like when people kill a hawk, is it just for fun or
they
Yes.
they
donate,
butcher it or?
You can.
they donate the meat to.
So he said, I need your help. That's what I said.
Some kind of shelter.
Just a huge box.
Okay.
They have-
Yeah.
So it can turn into sausage or
It's
something
kind
like
of-
that, like.
Yeah, it's probably
It
gamey.
sounds tough.
I'm from like the 800 pound rifles.
Yeah.
But if you get like 100 pound, nice, pretty one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still good? Really?
Surprised.
Well, I don't know that, I don't know that.
But at least you found them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fun, yeah, you line up, like you do thermals, we get little tripods and. You're line.
They only hunt in the Milky Way.
You just start unloading on them.
They only hunt the Milky Way.
Yep, because the hogs are smart. That's cool. So I'm hoping to do that this year. I'm just tired of doing the public land, and all the crazies and, waking up at 4, traveling through chest high weeds to get away from everybody. And I'm up in my little spot and then I hear feeder go off 50 yards away. I'm like, "What's this?" Some guy came,
Okay,
put a
so
feeder, which is illegal. And
I got a question about how the public land works. So I grew up on 100 acres, like, do we hunt it like all the time for everything? But
like when you.
the public, like, I've never heard of like people really hunting public land, like, you, reserve a section or?
Yeah, first come, first served.
It
So
is?
you have to get a, don't you have to get like a?
When you get in.
Yeah.
permit?
It depends, some of it, some Texas is permitted, like, yeah, a permit. No, it's first
But
come,
don't you
first
need to
served.
know where people are so you don't aim their direction?
Well, for archery, no.
Okay,
But here's an example for like duck hunting.
Yeah.
People get there at 4 a.m. At 6:45, 5 minutes before it's legal shooting light, Joe Schmo will come and sit 10 feet away from me or 20 feet away, scare everything away or mess everything up and just,
okay, yeah, you need your own place, because that is
I'm
so
just getting
gonna work.
tired of it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we gotta do a lease and or buy a ranch. That's my
Wow.
goal for this year. If I could sell some houses.
Very cool.
How are you doing, Paul?
Hey, Holly, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been forever.
Forget the things have wheels on. I know. Had a good year, did you?
Yeah.
This was a very good year.
It's better than one before that. That's all I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each year better than the last, and that makes me happy.
After all.
Yeah, but yours are doing this at this level.
Higher level.
Mine's like down here, so that's a big difference.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me
exactly.
too. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's okay.
I could take this if it was up here as opposed to down here.
It just takes a lot of time.
I know. Well, you've been doing it a couple more years than I have. Just a
I
couple.
can get a heads up
Exactly.
about it.
It didn't take it very long, it took me,
Huh?
it took me a lot longer to.
To get up there.
Plateau it up there. Instead.
One of my
But I mean, the benefit,
potential clients.
everybody talks about the first year, the pipeline and the repeat.
She had to run over. and
Conceptually
pay for
and
the-
intellectually, you understand it, but once it really starts happening after you're past that, and that happens, you're like,
Just checking to see.
some things are easier.
What are you talking about?
The thing
It's just gives you that
It's free
first
to read.
year, it just starts seeing,
This is the Bellin's rate.
yeah.
I think it was nice.
Is it a house or?
Yes.
Because I just,
Yep.
I just sold
They're
a
not
half
questioning
duplex
you anymore.
in
Yeah,
Dallas.
well, no, and I've already
Well,
seen that
couple
after a
of them,
short
which is so
time,
random
just a
that
couple
I
of
have two
years.
listings at the
Yes,
exact
but
same
that's
time,
already
I have
kicking
duplex
in
in
and
Dallas.
happening,
I'm
like, oh,
So I
my
used to
brother,
go,
my
oh,
friend,
yeah, duplex,
and we
I-
want them to go with you.
Which
blah,
I
blah,
work
blah.
on.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
we had no cops. We somehow approved it.
It looks like it's gonna be the James and Dick
I
show,
couldn't believe it.
since James is up, since you're big on the cat.
The cops in Richardson ISD were in, like, no, we were Richardson ISD.
You hear us, James?
Yeah.
But all the cops were gone.
Yes, we can hear you well.
All right, good. All right, we have about 2 minutes.
Put 100 grand in, sell it for 6, or is it? I'll set that 5. But then again, the market.
Yeah, but if you do 350 and you put 100 grand in, that's still 50K.
Yeah, whatever taxes and everything else,
Yeah,
that's a lot of time and money,
Nice to see you as well.
20K, I could do something else.
I'm gonna move up from the 4th row to the 3rd row.
Yeah.
She's
28,
advancing harder.
2 to 3 months, that's not bad.
It's a lot
Plus
of
you're
risk,
building
We'll be
reputation.
right back.
it's a lot of risk for.
We'll wait here.
But
Okay.
some homes are selling for like
Dude, are you doing a guest
750.
investor today or are you running the whole?
If you hear.
No, there's an interview.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are.
Officially gonna move down. I'm so excited.
So,
But we're gonna try to find a babysitter. I know, or
that's what I need.
I've never, like, I've been raising my daughter with no family around, so now having mother-in-law move here, oh my God.
We're getting our dining room and chairs delivered after about 10 months.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Pottery Barn?
I believe it.
And people complain about waiting for a whole house.
Oh my God.
This is from our house. In the north part.
Okay.
No, they are.
I went to this.
I love it. Yeah, if you have to wait for a table and dining chairs 10 months, I don't think people with houses should complain.
If you could get that house, and you did it all in it.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's your birthday.
I mean, it's old news. Last week. It was last week.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, news. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's past that now. On to the next phase. That's right.
Okay, 2 o'clock. Let's start. How's everybody doing?
Great, fantastic.
Fantastic. I'm doing remarkable.
I know you
myself.
are.
What's Brandon say on this thing?
Okay, we're gonna do three quick things, or 3 things.
Listen to this thing.
I want to read here. So here's the deal. I borrow this? Thanks for having on my own.
He was trying to take yours. He was
So
gonna
I
give
just
away
finished
one.
reading this book. And I've told you that I've reread this book. So I want to read just two things to you fairly quickly, because here's what I'm coming away with. One of the biggest challenges to becoming a millionaire or building wealth is your mindset. There's all kinds of trash, not only in your mind, but being fed to you about our economy and what you got to do and what you can't do. So I just want to read the 8 myths, the 8 myth understandings in this book, just to remind you of what we need to deal with.
What page is that on?
Myth number 1, don't be an investor. My job will take care of my financial wealth. Number 2, I don't need or want to be financially wealthy. You don't really know what you need. And there's no limit to what good you can do. And I think of the word freedom. That's what wealth provides, freedom of choice. Number 3, it doesn't matter if I want or need it, I just can't do it. Paul, have you ever had anything in your life that seemed insurmountable and you did it?
A little bit.
Yeah. That's the inside story. Investing is complicated. Well, in a minute, I'm going to give you the 7 baby steps and I'll show you it's not that complicated. Number 4, 5, the best investments require knowledge most people don't have. Not really, especially us, but you don't even have to be a realtor. Investing is risky, I'll lose my money. No, speculation is risky. Investing is a calculated action. Successful investors are able to time the market. No, we can't time the market, but the market's always available and ready. And then finally, all the good investments are taken. No, Tommy Thompson just listed the house today. Did you see this on Facebook?
Yes.
23 showings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
27.
I put an
Scheduled
offer, it's
within an
coming
hour.
soon. He said
Yeah,
70.
70 some altogether.
70, okay. All right, so in here are the 7 baby steps to becoming a baby step millionaire. And here's what he said at one point. He says, all right, so take them one at a time. So can you do number 1? And someone said, yes. Can you do number 2? Yes, I can do that. Can you do number 3? Yes. Okay, you're halfway there. Here's baby step number 1, save $1,000. Create an emergency fund with $1,000. And he says in the book, that's not enough, but that's how much I want you to start with. Number 2, pay off all your debts except for your home. Pay off all your debts except for your home. And we use the snowball concept, the snowball concept. You take the lowest balance and push everything toward that lowest balance and get it paid off. Then you take the payment for that one, which isn't, there's no payment anymore, but you take that payment and put it to the next smallest. Baby step number 3 is to save 3 to 6 months of money for an emergency fund, which puts you somewhere plus or minus $20,000. Depends on your lifestyle, depends on where you live. Those three are like the foundational pieces. Number 4, 15% of your income goes into investing and saving. 15% of your income goes into investing and saving. Number 5, hold on. Number 5 is college fund. If that's a thing for you kids wise, grandkids wise, start preparing for a college fund. Number 6, pay off your house early. I think I gave you this quote a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said, it might have been Ramsey or somebody he was interviewing. He says, I just paid off my house. It's the worst financial decision I ever made, but it's the best life decision I ever made. The best life decision I ever made. And number 7 is just continue to get wealthy and be generous. Continue to get wealthy and be generous. So I just want to remind you of those 2 things. All right, we're going to do something kind of neat. I think it'll be neat. I want you to get in, we have 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I want you to get in about 4 groups, figure out yourself 4 groups of about 4 apiece. Okay, so move your chairs around and get into groups of 4 or 5. Get into groups of 4 or 5. Just get into groups of 4 or 5. I'm not gonna tell you what we're gonna do. Get in groups of 4 or 5. Get in groups of 4 or 5. Get in groups of 4 or 5. Make sure everybody knows everybody. Make sure everybody knows everybody in the group.
It's funny how that.
All right, give one of those to everybody.
Oh, I haven't tried. Yes. All right.
No, we don't have.
Tell us. Oh, I have
Sure. Anytime.
And then you have one. What about you?
Anytime.
Okay, next time he's gonna hunt. I'm gonna-
Okay, everyone, does everyone have one? Okay, on Zoom, those of you on Zoom, you should have gotten an email today from Adriana, and she emailed you this listing out of MLS. So those of you on Zoom, look for an email today, this afternoon, right around noon, I think, for Adriana, and you should have gotten an MLS listing. Okay, here's what I want you to do in your groups. I want you to analyze this property. Now, what I mean by that is not numerically, but I want you to talk about all the factors, pro and con, all the things that you need to think about if you were to consider this as an investment. What things would you think about? What things scare you? What things look attractive to you? What's good, what's not so good about this property? I want you to, as a group, I want you to think through this and talk about it with each other. Are there any questions? And this is a real listing. And
We each have a different address, does it matter?
huh? You do?
Oh, we have different ones. That's Cypress.
So we're all correct.
There's some extra.
Oh, there you go.
It should be Berkeley. Everybody should have Berkeley. Okay, those are my extras. Those are the ones I didn't choose to do.
Oh, this is such a better deal.
Everybody,
How about yes or no?
everybody got the right one, Berkeley? Everybody's got Berkeley. These extras?
All we can do is see.
Okay, talk about it with each other. What's good, what's not so good about Berkeley? 1309 Berkeley Court.
2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
Yeah. It's not.
But I like that. Compared to the other one I had was a 65.
Well, in 2,600 square feet space. So that's.
So there goes cash flow.
HOA, I would ask about their rental requirements and everything. 33 monthly.
$33 a month is still.
It's a short sale and properties in need of repairs. So, the question, what kind of repairs? Are we talking about?
Yeah.
Should we assume that we? Or we're just looking at it, I guess we're just looking at it.
Just look at this.
Yes.
I wanna know
I would say a
what's-
negative on the.
What's our true amount of repairs? Like, are we talking about we have a new roof or we need a roof and it's for one that's not gonna be insured? You know?
Short sale, honestly, short sale.
Yeah, but that's been restricted now, so it's not like what it was back in 2008, 2009. There are requirements about response,
Mobile offers, so it's.
but still.
Yeah, in theory, there's just, the reason why I say kick it is mostly just like. Short sales, like, it's like all abstract.
Like that, I was trying to.
And if you had a listing agent that was
I was trying to decide.
that was experienced with this, it's a short sale, but this one's related to the seller, which could mean it's the first short sale they've ever done. So I'd be very interested in their knowledge of what they do.
Well, she's a 038. Which doesn't necessarily
Doesn't mean she's ever done a short sale before. So
Adjacent to.
I would just wonder, you know, experience it. It's gonna be a pain in the butt.
Between my yard.
Or if you're the one holding it all.
I can touch that.
Well, obviously she doesn't know much because of the proposed financing. She put cash or a head check. She didn't leave conventional For BA, because if it doesn't qualify for BA, it will qualify for FHA, because of the shape of it, and why did you put conventional? Like,
And that's what we're supposed to
or attention to detail is not there.
And that's where I'm like, because, yeah, so her license number is, older, but I mean, sometimes a newer agent's done.
So I had to say the same. I went there, no, it's a short sale. No, why do you have it? It's gonna be big. Oh, that's wrong. I see the 1995 new construction. Oh, that's wrong.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Shh. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want you to do something. Now that you've talked with each other a little bit, each group needs to appoint a spokesperson who will represent the group on the findings. So everybody appoint a spokesperson in your group.
Any opposed? It doesn't matter. I thought you said you didn't get the memo. I thought you said, we thought. That's what I thought. Nobody just said, not even you.
Yeah, I'm like, that says.
So it's already telling us.
All in agreement, that's what it meant when Jake put his finger on his nose, say aye. I'm very glad.
So it's got a lot of. So you remember everything?
Yeah. Oh, it is a garage, negative, it is a garage conversion. It no longer has garage.
The mouse, well, the other hand.
When it comes to leasing, we just talk about
Right, you have to drive by.
I'm not taking it personally, what me.
What you're listing. Provided it is. He said, that's a property.
Yes.
2 stories also.
Right.
Everybody can rent a 1 story, but not everybody can rent a 2 story.
Which should even be more. Oh,
No, that is.
but still in Russell Creek, they don't have 2 bedrooms.
They did something, I know, that's what.
I'm confused there.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm like, that was close to my old neighborhood, and I don't recall
You know what,
2-bedroom
it's-
house ever.
it's-
Can we walk it? I really would like that.
Yeah, we will.
I have embarrassed myself more times.
There you go. Yeah. You lose, you lose.
Sleep on it, don't sleep in it. Yes,
But
maybe.
the deadline is already done, coming up.
Yeah, this week, there
We
was
probably don't want to.
Olive Stumbridge Ranch. There was a single listing of it.
Yes, master bedroom on the second, a lot of the houses in that neighborhood are on the second. No, I have,
Well, it's not that.
in this area, it was actually preferred, I thought.
Historically.
No, so in this neighborhood is all, there's not like, it's very, very, very cultural, and they want their bedrooms close to their neighbors. So they want
I think it-
second house.
So,
So, yeah.
I think we're not gonna.
Okay, 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes, 2-minute warning, 2 more minutes, Zoom.
Cardboard space, it didn't bother. I have FHA.
Well, is it, they need to go find a carport piece. Well, you have to go out. They have.
In East Texas.
No, Aubrey, Princeton, Anna, Melissa,
Yeah.
Royce City. Royce City had $300,000 homes coming back on the market, Brandon and Valley.
That doesn't always.
This is a special conversion for 1,500.
That's not true. I did see it.
And this is what
And they're going multiple.
they have a bedroom on the second.
That's what I said. I mean, it's.
They're saying it's a need to
Is
repair.
it a square?
I just
square rectangle.
No.
Well, what they're saying.
Why is it in there?
I got weird.
If you have to ask.
No,
Honey, I see that.
I wonder what it was for. Now I wanna know.
Well, it has a. They don't want to run it. Yeah. It is a 10.
I assume with the 2 floors.
Well, I did too, but I hate it when people understand that you're just listening.
Yeah, because it has single family. I mean,
Okay, let's go. Let's start. All right, so let me ask you this question. I'm going to ask a general question. Are there some things to consider that the average consumer might not?
Yes.
Okay, but we would because we're in the business. So we have specialized knowledge for this. Did anybody see a complete deal killer?
Yes. It's listed by Abby Halliday.
Wow. Okay, that may be true. There's a credibility issue there with the listing agent, right?
No, both bedrooms are upstairs.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know that that's a deal killer. It's a consideration. And I think it's a bigger consideration for resale than it is a rental. But
There's a northeast like this.
But I had listings in this area that like, it was like what they wanted because it's a cultural market in this area and they want to be closer to their children. So I found that they don't want.
all right, okay, so let's take it one at a time. Let's start with this group back here. Who's the spokesperson? Scott, is that you?
yes,
All
sir.
right, give me 2 things that we need to think about or 2 conclusions that you drew. And we'll either just listen to them or we'll add to them and then move on. Go ahead. What do you got? 2.
Okay. The HOA, just because it might have issues with the property.
Okay, so HOA, maybe issues with renting the property, also an added expense. It's also an added expense. Does it show how much the HOA dues are?
Yes, it's $33 a month.
$33 a month, so almost $400 a year. So that would be a line item on your P&L for this, right? But the bigger issue is, will the HOA make any requirements about prohibiting it? All right, so that's a good one. Everybody good on that? All right, what's another one?
Let's see. What else we discussed? I guess the 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Issue, it's not for what it is, for the size of the house, it kind of seems odd.
So 2 bedrooms is going to somewhat limit the tenant pool or the buyer pool later. Now, the buyer pool is kind of tricky because we talked about this. If you're not planning on selling, if you're just a buy and hold landlord, then the buyer pool doesn't really matter as much. But the tenant pool would matter a little bit, right? So I wonder if there's any room in that where you could convert it to a 3rd bedroom. That's 2.5 baths.
Well, it doesn't have 3 living areas, so possibly, maybe.
Okay, all right, so keep that in mind. All right, who's spokesperson up here? Okay, give me 2 more. 2 more things to think about or 2 more questions you have about it.
The loan type says treat as clear. However, there's also a second mortgage and it's a possible short sale. Something I would think about.
Sounded to me like it was definitely a short sale.
Well, it says possible short sale, yes.
Okay, so what would it? So
This is a short sale.
yeah, tell me what a short sale is.
Don't know, I didn't look through it.
You don't know what a short sale is? Bragger.
I've been in the business long enough to know.
Bragger. What's a short sale?
It's time for her to learn.
That's
Yeah.
like
What's a short sale? Holly?
when there's more on their loan
Than it's
than
worth.
than it's worth.
They owe more on their loan than it's worth.
Yes.
And so what happens on that? You
Then
get the permission or you get a preliminary permission.
the
from
lender has to give permission to sell below the value of the outstanding
And
balance.
if the lender approves a sale that's below the mortgage, what happens to the seller? Do they bring money to the table?
Probably, yeah, if he's under a short sale, they probably can't afford it. They can, though, in some circumstances be asked to, because they're still liable for it.
Right.
It's whether or not the bank will write it off or it'll go against their credit penalty.
All right, so they might be, that may be part of the negotiations. They might have to bring something to the table. Part of the negotiations might mean, when forgiveness of debt creates a taxable event. So if they were forgiven $80,000 of debt, it's possible
No tax.
that they have an $80,000 gain to pay taxes on. Now, that's part of the negotiations also. Very tenuous to deal with a short sale. Depending on the lender, it could take weeks or even months. It could. It's a back and forth, it's a sit and wait kind of a deal, isn't it? Okay, so you got that, and then you got the whole thing with short sale and FHA. And what else?
Well, we thought that the lot size was kind of funny. It says one place it says 0 lot line, then it says it's a 0.12 acre lot, then the lot dimensions are funny too.
Okay, so we would want to check out the lot. It approaches a 0 lot. Don't know if it actually is, but it's a small lot for sure. What would happen on a small lot?
Well, less maintenance.
Yes, less maintenance. That could be attractive to a certain part of the leasing pool. Low maintenance. All right, oh, yeah, how'd you get this? All right, give me two
I have
things to
all
think about.
Multiple offers on top of the
Okay,
short sale.
so it's a multiple offer situation on a short sale.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be competitive.
They're saying sold as is, and they specified, what was the verbiage needed? Work done. Needed repair.
Okay.
Yeah, so short sale, he probably doesn't have the money, deferred maintenance, how bad is that? That's, I think, those three things really.
Okay, so we need to check that out.
Positive, Plano ISD.
Okay, that's enough. Next group. Thank you, Jay. Who's the spokesperson?
Me.
Okay, Terry.
The garage conversion with the flag.
Okay, so the first thing I saw on this, I thought, wow, 2,600 square feet for 300,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, So what about the garage conversion? Give me the plus and the minus for that.
Plus is you have extra square feet. The minus is you don't have a garage, and most people want a garage to park their car. Right, you're still yeah. But I mean, if they haven't put plumbing or anything in there, it's easy to convert back.
Okay, what's gonna be the requirement that they need to call it square footage?
Air conditioning.
HVAC, heat and air. Heat and air, otherwise it really doesn't qualify to be called square footage. And that must be that 21 by 21 room.
That sounds like a
A lot of times on a straight sale, you have a buyer requiring the seller to reconvert. That's not gonna do well here because the seller doesn't have any money. Does not appear to have any money or the will to do something like that. I don't think it would stop a tenant, but it's a complication.
It narrows the market.
It narrows the market. Yeah, narrows the market. Okay, one more?
Well, basically, just depends on what you can get for it. Since it is a short sale, then you have to wait for bank approval. So that you have to spend time on that. But depending on what you can get it for, if it's listed for 300, if you fix it up, you can probably get 445 out of it at 25 square feet.
It's a good neighborhood. There's 300. It's
Yeah.
not a bad price.
Repairs were
But
bad.
again, we don't know about the repairs. If the repairs are 20 or 30, that's one thing. If they're 50 or 60, then that's something else.
On top of being multiple offers. Price.
And then on top of being multiple offers, right? Okay, now let's open it up. Any other factors you looked at, saw, thought about?
Well, one of the things that bothered me, I know they were joking about it being an EBI agent, but under financing options, it's either cash or FHA, which it calls into my mind the detail-oriented ability of the other agent to not put down conventional loan possibility.
Well, 203K, so it's a fixer upper. So in other words,
Yeah.
they're not gonna.
That's what a 203K as opposed to a 203B.
Yes,
K means they can roll the cost of the repairs into the mortgage,
yes,
which
But it can
is a
still be-
cash flow thing, right?
but it can still be a conventional.
Yeah.
And
If
so,
it's habitable. See. We don't know. It has to have like a working oven.
Really want to.
Yeah, if it's habitable.
Right.
Okay, well, but you know what? One thing I looked at was the age of the house. It's not a terribly old house.
91, no.
91, isn't it?
Yeah.
91, I thought, well, that's kind of good news. So the downstairs is probably somewhat open. Probably have somewhat of an open floor plan downstairs. What else?
under the square footage, it says 2625 for the appraiser, it's got the appraiser's name, so you might assume that it's air conditioned, otherwise you wouldn't count it.
I agree. I think once the appraiser has his name on it, he's basically certifying that it's livable square footage. I pulled up the tax report here because I thought $5,000 in taxes was low. What would the taxes be as a percentage, just a ballpark?
9,000.
Yeah, 9,000.
Between 2.5 and 3, between 2.5 and 3, probably 2.5. But 300,000 times 2.5 is 7,500. But now what do you think it's assessed at?
Well, I'm gonna guess around 200.
Yep.
The tax.
Is that what it's done?
It'd be pretty close.
I wonder if they permitted
Permitted, yeah.
the garage.
Is it on the tax?
No, it is
rolls?
not.
Is on the tax.
On the
rolls?
tax rolls, it shows to be 2,099 square feet.
Which is why they have the appraiser say the square footage.
2,099 square feet. The total assessed value is 290. So anyway, I saw that. I didn't know about that for sure.
Are you supposed to permit a garage conversion?
Probably. Permit the garage conversion. I think, yeah. I mean, here's one possibility. One possibility was this house was a model. And the HVAC was already in the garage because it was a model home. That's possible. Right?
If it's a 2-bedroom, why do you need 3 living areas and 2 dining areas?
I don't know.
Don't they understand?
I know.
Doesn't the garage conversion have to have an egress, a window of some sort so they could get out during?
It can have a
fire?
door.
If it's gonna be a bedroom, yes.
So
If
then
it's gonna be a living room, no.
A door and a window, probably, from a code
So it
standpoint.
may not be up to code.
To
May
be a
not be.
bedroom, you
May
mean?
not be.
Yeah.
I know. I
I
mean, if, just in general.
You have
No,
to.
if we were gonna convert it to a bedroom.
Yeah, a media room doesn't,
Only a
yeah,
bedroom, I thought that had to have a window.
Yeah.
it is correct.
Okay.
A bedroom.
The door.
So you probably have, I'm guessing you have 2 baths up and a half bath down. So to convert one of those living areas to a bedroom with only a half down can be a little bit complicated. But, you know, it's a short sale. And it's available. Okay? So going forward on this, if we were to go forward, what would you say the biggest unknown is right now?
Repairs.
Repairs and comps. To some degree, comps. Is this a great deal? Is it an average deal? Is it a lousy deal?
Average. It's possible.
Average, maybe, but with the supply of houses. I mean, one thing is, I mean, $300,000, and again, assuming the repairs are manageable, that's getting in pretty low to West Plano. You know, so I would want to see a couple of comps just to kind of give myself, or do a walkthrough and to get an idea about the repairs. Would you agree?
You also can look at repairs, if it's an investment property versus repairs. You're
Right.
buying to live in it.
That's right. So repairs for a family to move in, owner occupant, or repairs for a tenant could be different. Right? We certainly know it's not over updated, which would be a problem for us putting a tenant in it to some degree. Agreed? Okay, so good exercise just to talk through. All right, here's part 2. Here's part 2 of the exercise. And this part, I want you to take home with you and then come back with it tomorrow. I mean, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I want you to run the numbers on it. Now, some of you, that'll be easy. Some of you, not quite so easy. I want you to put down how much revenue we get from the rent. I want you to put down what the expenses would be. I want you to decide how much you'll finance. I want you to decide what you can buy it for. I want you to decide if you can pay cash. There are no restrictions on your assumptions. I just want you to see, I want you to actually lay it out. Remember that most of you got the copy of the $400,000 house, and I walked through it and put insurance, and I put taxes, and I put mortgage and interest, and I went, right? And then we came down to a bottom line, figured out what our cash flow was. Okay, so I'm not expecting perfection, but I am expecting you to, and if I didn't know how to do it, here's one of the places I'd go. This will not help you on that. This will. So you can find how a P&L works on a house, all the expenses. You can kind of put those in there. I don't want you to hear me talk about it anymore. I want you to do it. So same thing for Zoom, all the Zoom people. I want you to come up with a P&L for this house, starting with rent. What do you think you could rent it for? How much vacancy? Would you manage it yourself or would you pay to have it managed? All of those things I want you to come up with. And bring it in next Tuesday. It's your homework assignment. And you can collaborate if you want. That's okay with me. But different ones of you are going to make different assumptions. So we're not going to have just one set of numbers. Some of you will manage it yourself and some of you, no way will you. If you want to make an assumption about repairs, figure out what you think is just an assumption. We'll agree with your assumptions unless we don't. All right, any questions about that? We good on that? Okay. So we have a special guest pair today we're going to interview. Give it up for Brad and Jessica Matter. We're going to hear about their story. There's several things that we talked about that I want to point out to you and have them point out to you because there's things we've kind of talked about and I just want to make sure we make a good explanation of them. So let's start with this. Let's start with how many properties, investment properties do you have right now?
3.
3 investment properties right now. That would not include your homestead.
Correct.
But you're thinking at some point you might convert that homestead.
Yes.
Okay, but right now 3 investment properties. Everybody good on that? All right, let's talk about the first one. Talk to us about how did you acquire the first one? How did you acquire the first one?
So before I met Brad, it was property I bought on my own.
And lived in?
And lived in. Yes.
Okay, so it was your homestead.
Yes.
All right, so we're not in the investment business yet.
No,
But when did we move into the investment business?
in 2019,
2019, and you moved into the investment business by doing what?
by buying another house and then turning our previous into a rental.
All right, so you converted your residence.
Yes.
And then you guys bought another house to move into.
Yes.
Okay, so you had a conversion. Now, the cool thing about that, you bought it in 2011. You converted it in 2019. What happened during those 8 years?
We were building equity, living there.
Building equity and living there. So in 2019, not only did you convert it, you refinanced it. Or did you not do that in 19? Did you do it 2 years later?
So I bought it in 2011. We refinanced it in 2013, the year that we met. And then, so we had that same interest rate, low interest rate, no PMI or anything for the rest of the time until 2019.
And then in 2019, did you take a cash out?
We did that this year, or well, 2020, 2021. What year is this?
I did a cash out refi on it at 21.
New
Yes.
first lien.
Yes, in
Okay.
2021.
All right, so let's talk about the second half. And by the way, the first one was in Plano.
Yes.
Park in Ohio.
Started off around 155.
I bought it for 155,000.
What's it worth now?
Well, it just appraised for 370.
Great investment, girl.
You snooze, you lose. Okay, so let's talk about 2 and 3. We'll kind of talk about them together first because they came close together. When did you find 2 and 3?
So number 2 was my sister's house, and she called.
Tell that story.
She
Yeah.
called me out of the blue one day and asked what it would be like to list her house and what we might sell it for, typical family conversation. And I told her what the process would be like a little bit on the phone. And she said, okay, great. And then we just hung up and I said, okay, I'm going to follow up with her.
Now she's in West Plano?
She's in Oak Point.
Oak Point.
So then I followed up with her. And when I did, she's like, oh yeah, we're going to sell it to Zillow. I was like, great.
Don't you just love family?
So then the news broke about Zillow not buying houses anymore. So I called and texted her the same day and I said, hey, did you see this? And she goes, yeah, our representative won't return any of our phone calls. I said, well, what if we made you an offer on it? And so we went over there the same day and brought the contract or the offer documents with us and wrote her an offer on the spot.
And we had never seen the house before that, so we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into.
But you went over there and you took a contract with you,
Yeah.
blind contract.
Yeah, we wrote it in my truck outside the house.
Okay, so you bought her house and that was in the 350 range?
No, we bought it, well, Zillow made her an offer for 356 and they were gonna charge her 11% to do it. And so we just took 11% off the 356 and bought it for that,
So close to 300.
317 or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, we basically
Now-
matched Zillow's offer.
yeah, so, and then you borrowed 80% to buy it,
We borrowed 75%.
75%. Well, where did the 25% come from?
Our savings.
And where did our savings come from in large part?
We did a cash out refi on our first property.
So in a sense, you could describe this as nothing down, in a sense. Now, don't get carried away with that. That was 25% and that was real money. Okay, but the source of it is the part that was kind of cool. Okay, so sister goes away, you've got the house, you're renting it now. You guys are managing your own property right now.
Yes.
Okay, so talk to us about number 3.
Okay, number 3 was a referral for a seller. And this was probably 2 years ago. And met with her and she was interested in actually leasing out herself. So we ran the numbers on her leasing it or her. She said, I'm not ready to move. She wanted to move to be with her son in Washington, DC. Wasn't ready to do that yet. A couple years go by, I keep in touch with her every few months, like I do with my sellers. And finally she said, I'm ready to sell it. And I said, well, what if we made you an offer? And up to this point, anytime we go on a listing appointment and we're interested, we make them an offer.
Okay, all right, now let's stop right there for a second. Okay, because we talked about this.
Yes.
That wasn't always the case.
No.
So you had an actual change of mindset.
Yeah.
And so there was a point in time where you said, hey, we're not taking another listing without the thought of us making an offer on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's a few things you wouldn't do, but for the most part, I'd say the vast majority of the listings you take, you're at least thinking about buying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as I walk in the door, that's my thought. Do I want to buy this house?
Right. And when did that happen? Roughly 2020?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2019, 20.
we'd had conversations with our coaches about it and how they have their investment portfolio and they started making offers or buying some houses that they were going up to or interviewing the list or listing presentations. And
Okay.
so we had always talked about wanting to expand or build our wealth and expand our portfolio. And so now when a listing opportunity comes up, if it makes sense, then yeah, we'll present it as here's hitting the easy button. We're your buyer.
Okay. All right, and so this number 3 seller decided to do that because she decided, again, stayed in touch for 2 years. That's kind of an important part. And she just decided, I don't want to fool with it. I want to get on up to Washington, DC although she did lease it back for a little while, didn't she?
Yeah, she's still there.
in the
Oh,
house,
she's
yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
So she leased it back, so that's kind of cool, no vacancy.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so Brad, you mentioned your coaches. I want you to go into the coaching thing and the people who have advised you and helped you, and you know the one I'm talking about in particular, the car ride.
Oh, yes.
Okay, which led to the coach.
Yes.
So who has helped you kind of get your head on? Because when you first started this, you weren't completely locked into buy and hold. There was
We considered my sister's house in Oak Point as a possible flip. I was just thinking, man, this is a good deal. And if Zillow was willing to do that, we could turn around and probably sell it for a little bit more than that.
And the reason we were thinking that is because it was a 2016 build. It was a DR Horton, so it still had, it's still new. Still had the foundation warranties and all that. And we thought with the numbers that we were going to present, we could turn it around. But after thinking about it, and running the numbers, like this made more sense for us to hold it long term.
And the 2 and 3 you closed right at the end of last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah, number 2, well, The Oak Point house closed first week of November, and then the third house closed December 1st.
And the third house, the down payment for it came,
Also from the cash out refi. Most of it.
okay, so your goal, you have a 10-year goal or, a 5-year goal? What,
5-year goal, we'll have 10 properties
5-year goal, you're gonna have 10 properties
and at least one in Michigan.
and one in Michigan. Where are you from?
Michigan.
Oh. There had to be something like
But I never grew up with a Lake Michigan view. But we'll have it.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so talk to us about who's helped you along the way.
Well, our coach, Joanne and Tom Curtin out of Atlanta, I think they have 15 properties and a commercial property also. And
Husband and wife
husband and wife
team.
team, we wanted to coach with a husband and wife team. And we got connected to them because I was on the ALC and we were doing Great by Choice. And it must have been, I guess, Tammy at the time that asked me if I wanted to pick up one of our guest speakers, Kimber Minkitty, at the airport. And I said, I'll do that. So I said, sure. And I went and picked her up, and we, all the way from DFW all the way to the Angelica, were chit chatting. And I had a mental list of things I wanted to talk to her about. And one of them was, that at the time we were going to be a new team, and who can I talk to that's husband and wife in the business? And so she actually connected us to Joanne Curtin at Family Reunion.
So you had a mental list of the things you wanted to talk to her about. That's really not completely true. You had a mental list of the questions you wanted to ask her.
That's true. That's what I meant.
Isn't that really right?
Yes, that's what I meant.
That's how, right? Why would she want to talk to Kimber? She don't want to talk to her. She wants to ask her questions and get Kimber's expertise. Because Kimber and her husband, Bo, who are owners, partners in the Maryland, DC region, they have quite the business empire.
Mhm.
They have houses, buildings, all kinds of things. And they own like 9 market centers, parts of 9 market centers, something like that. So she was helpful,
Mhm.
and she was helpful in getting you together with your coach.
Yes.
And then you've picked the brain of a couple of people here in the office.
Yes.
Who here?
Well, we talked to Nick Biggs about the 2 properties because we were kind of having a panic moment about at the end of the year how the money and where this is going to come from and why are we 2 just fell in our lap at the same time, So it was just a lot, and he helped us process that and run some numbers on them. And
Okay,
He's done a
so
great
because
sounding board.
he's an investor,
he is, yes.
and for those of you who don't know Nick on the DARE team, he's also an appraiser.
He's doing an appraisal class for us in February.
He's doing an
Okay.
appraisal class in February. Wow, we will stop at nothing to get the best here, will we? Is he flying him in?
I am.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, let me see if I can, okay, I know another. Okay, so I think it was number 2 or number 3, wasn't it? Number 3? You said something to me. You remember what you said to me? You're considering what?
Making it an Airbnb.
Making it an Airbnb. And what did I ask you?
Why would you want to do that?
No.
Yes,
Not exactly.
what would make it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sometimes it's the little details. I know why you would want to do it. What would make it a possible good candidate to be an Airbnb? So,
Well, it's located on Hedgecoats and Ohio.
Right in between Preston and Ohio. So the location's a really good location as far as being right off Preston, close to the new location of all these corporations that are moving here. So it could be good for business travelers. It's
0 lot line.
0 lot line. It's more of a garden home, so it's relatively low maintenance.
and when was it built roughly?
93.
Yeah,
Okay, it's still fairly new.
yeah. It's not.
All right, so close to Legacy Park,
Yeah.
low maintenance, Plano schools.
Mhm.
Fairly new. Those would all be
Mhm.
somewhat, because an Airbnb, there has to be kind of a reason that it's an Airbnb,
Mhm.
You can't just take any house and make it an Airbnb. Got to have like some sort of attractiveness draw. Thank you.
there an HOA?
Draw.
There is an HOA. And that's not in there.
So talk to the HOA issue, because this is something you've also threw out, that not all
Yes.
HOAs.
Oh, we'll allow rentals first of all, but Airbnbs also.
Right.
This one doesn't care. There's nothing in
It
there.
hasn't caught up to, the HOA committee hasn't caught up to the Airbnb network probably yet, which is fine.
Now, is that one the 2-bedroom?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, you've talked about making it a
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom.
2-bedroom with a study.
Okay, so you've talked about making the study a bedroom. What do you have to do?
Well,
Closet.
we would put a closet.
Okay. All right, so you can make a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. Is the study downstairs?
It's all
Yes,
one
one
story.
story.
A 1-story?
All of our properties are 1-story.
Oh.
Because anybody can lease a 1-story or buy a 1-story. Everybody.
That's why I don't like.
Buy a lease a 2-story.
Big pool, big pool. Speaking of pools, I asked you about that. I said in your criteria, you said your criteria was such that other than Michigan, you don't want it to be too far away because you're managing them yourself.
Mhm.
And you said price could be a factor. We're not going to do $1.5 million or $2 million deal right now. We're not ready for that now. And I asked you about the pool.
Mhm.
Remember what did you say about the pool?
We would prefer no, but if the numbers make sense, we would be open to having a pool.
And what would the hesitancy be?
More the upkeep and the fees.
Right.
With having to do. that.
Additional cost.
Yeah, just additional costs.
Additional cost. Okay,
Yeah,
let's see.
liability is another one, but
Liability.
up like immediately it would just be the upfront costs and the maintaining of it.
You had asked me for some of the resources to run numbers on Airbnbs.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't done the numbers exactly yet, but I do have 3 websites that could be good. airdna.co.
Airbnb.
DNA, like
DNA.
like your DNA.
Oh, okay. AirDNA.
.co.
.co.
Go.
And then pricelabs.co.
What is it?
Pricelabs.co.
And then the third one is beyondpricing.com.
Beyondpricing.com. Those would all be resources for that. Does Carol Thompson do Airbnbs? Who in our office does Airbnbs?
Another
Tommy
one.
does.
Tommy like.
Yes.
Tommy Lankry does.
It does,
Denton does Airbnbs.
Scribner's do.
Scribners do. They Airbnb their Vail property? Okay.
Pays for all their other trips.
All right, any questions, Mike?
All right, I love when you're almost like your own iBuyer and what's the show of love it or list it? That you're walking like, if we love it, we'll buy it or we'll list it, right? Well, so I want to know what the script or dialogue is to the seller about that and what seller reactions might be.
Mhm. Okay, so my sister-in-law taught me about this first. So she has a construction crew in Abilene to flip these properties. So she goes in with 3 net sheets, one for her to buy it, one for if the seller was to list it the way that it is, retail market. And then the third net sheet is if the seller fixed it and then listed it. And she has them initial all 3. And she said, you would be shocked how many times they picked just me buying it. They just want to hit the easy button. And
That's
so,
Tanya Harbor.
yes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
Definitely.
okay.
So what we did is we started coming in with 2 net sheets because I don't have that third arm right now to fixing up and selling it. And a lot of times there's not a lot of margin. So we have done it a couple different ways. One, making them an offer with 2 net sheets, what we would buy it for versus what you could get listing it on the retail market. And then the other way we bought property number 3 was giving the seller a list of 3 appraisers to choose from. And whatever the appraisal came in at, we would buy it for 6% less than that. That's riskier, because you never know what an appraiser, I mean, the appraisal came in higher than what we were anticipating when we did that, but we still honored it and it made sense, so.
Yeah, and what was interesting about that is that our lender required an appraisal and that appraisal came in lower than the independent appraisal, so.
But
So,
it's okay.
so my follow-up is, if I may, is, so when you say, here's two net sheets, what's their reaction? I mean, do they go like, well, whoa? Or-
Normally they're like, why would you want to buy it?
Yeah,
And so we say, well, we're interested in building our portfolio of properties. We want to put a tenant in here and you may make more money putting it on the market. This is just an option to hit the easy button if you want it. It's kind of what that sounds
Yeah, and
like.
then one scenario that we had this spring, it was a younger couple with a two-year-old, 1-year-old at the time. And so they were nervous about basically being displaced from their home for the weekend with all the showings and the hassle, and then going through the option period with inspectors and all that. She works from home, and then they also have the 1-year-old. And so that was when we kind of tied in our offer. It's like, well, if you want to hit the easy button, you've already met us.
The difference is usually just 6%. Did I hear you
No,
say?
not always, not always. I mean, what we tell them is you probably will make more money going on the market, but then you have to deal with all the hassle and the showings and the open houses, like we call it a hassle. And then on our side, it's hitting the easy button and taking our offer, but it's not normally a
Well,
straight
don't you
trade.
sometimes say unbelievable hassle?
Unbelievable hassle.
If we really want the property.
Well, especially if you have pets and. all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, you said when you did I think it was the third listing presentation, you said, hey, we'll buy it. What was your thinking criteria going in ahead of time that you're gonna put an offer in?
Well, I had at that point seen it probably 3 or 4 times, and I had ample time, almost 2 years to run the numbers, and I kept seeing how because in my mind, I was never gonna buy a 2-bedroom. Thought that's not my wheelhouse. And then I thought, well, wait a second, what if I turn the study into a 3rd bedroom? And that's an opportunity for
Yeah.
more cash flow.
Well, if we had had the conversations with her a little over a year ago, we never would have submitted an offer, but we changed mindset. We changed how we were thinking about building or getting investments, that we proposed it. Because not only were we talking to her, but we were talking to her son who's in the DC area. It was helping coordinate her getting up to that area, or, selling the house. So we've proposed it to both of them really and saying, if you want to hit the easy button, we'll buy the house right now. She can lease it back from us until January or February, because she wanted to stay around because she had doctor's appointments and she just wanted to get everything taken care of here so that she didn't have to worry when she moved up to the Virginia area.
So convenience.
So we were able to do the convenience part for her. She really did not want to put the house on the market and have to, because she's older, so she didn't want to have to deal with showings and people coming into her house. So we took care of that for her as well. And so really it became a deal that made sense for both parties.
Did it cash flow, the criteria and all that stuff to keep?
It will, yeah.
Just
Mhm.
buying property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, because her mortgage was so low because she'd been in it for so long that really right now she's paying our expenses. So we're not.
Yeah, we took our part of our agreement was we took our PITI and the lease back and then just calculated what it would be per day. And that's what we're charging her until she's out of there. And we already have it rented for whenever she moves out.
Yeah.
Larry.
At a higher rate, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. That market rate.
Two
Yeah.
questions. When you went over to your sisters, did you walk her back through the scenario of putting it on the market? Or did you just go full bore?
I knew she wasn't gonna do it.
Okay.
That was the reason why they went to Zillow in the first place.
I mean, she had the.
Yeah.
So you didn't feel any responsibility?
No, and she told me at the closing table too, like Zillow came back and we just sold it to you instead. We would have gotten the same deal with them.
Well, and they
Well,
knew that
thanks.
they were leaving money on the table by going with Zillow or selling it to us at that price.
Yeah.
They even told us before we even said anything.
Okay, second question. Y'all are both so nice. You're managing them yourself. What's gonna happen when somebody stops paying?
I'm gonna hire you to go over there.
I'm nice, Jay.
Hire Marcia.
Hire Marcia. No, sir, I mean,
Amy, what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
If being a manager becomes a problem?
Oh, we hire.
Who's the enforcer?
Hire a property manager
Okay.
Yes.
or an enforcer, yeah.
So I've got a question about lending. I could be the only one in the room questioning this and not knowing the answer already, but so you started with your own. When you go and buy an investment property, the lender knows that's an investment property and that you're not gonna go move into it. Do you keep your current loan going and then when you buy your new home? Because that's what I'm wanting to do is turn my house into
Yes.
an investment property. So I just keep that loan as is and then buy a new one as I'm moving into it. So I don't technically have any investment loans with higher rate. So if you
And you
keep
can put
doing
lower
that,
down.
and you can put lower down.
FHA.
And so you can, when you cash out refi, your first one, at that point was an investment home.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it was a tenant occupied at that time.
So it had to be as an investment. Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
But if you did a cash out refi before you moved out of it,
Then we could have kept that rate.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay,
One more, I think we have one more question.
oh, where? Oh, yeah, sorry.
The rates on investment loans are higher than the rates.
Yes.
A little bit higher, yeah.
There's down payment requirement.
Yeah, and you have to put more down. Depending on the lender, you have to do, 20 to 25% minimum down.
But there's ways around that if you do it the way she said it and just take the one that you had and keep it and convert it.
Yes.
Well, there's no ways around it,
Okay.
but yes, there's other considerations.
Yes.
Do you have to stay in it every 2 years or can you just move in for 6 months and keep
I
buying
think
it?
other lenders have regulations on how long you have to have it as a primary residence.
What'd you say your goal was? You want to be the listing agent that never sells the house?
Yeah, my job is to retire and never have sold a house.
I like that.
So one of you may have, I have a flyer in my zest for passing these out. Yes,
I used the back of it since I thought it just
Okay.
came from the printer.
it's okay, but that
my
was
notes.
on Facebook today, I think it was. It's a California lender that is advertising investor loans that you could put 15% down, not 20 or 25. And the rate is 3.875 for investor loans.
It's Lending Place, if anybody's wondering. Lending
Only if
Place.
he takes all of California back.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd be interested to see the fees.
Yeah, that's not the whole picture.
No.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's give these guys a hand. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. So next Tuesday, I want to see the numbers on our Berkeley house. So come to, and then we'll be interviewing somebody else that's just almost as incredible as the one so far. I don't know how. I mean, at some point, nobody's going to want to be interviewed because everybody's done such a great job. But we'll see you guys next Tuesday for this class and come back with your homework. But if you don't do it, come back anyway and just pretend like you did it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That's a good. Yeah, but you can't do that. I think so. So like if you buy another house.
Oh, I need 40 grand for the down payment?
Your primary residence, you haven't sold it, so it's gonna be taxed. Buy their house.
You guys are?
No, I mean, so like the recap.
After you put a bunch of money down.
It's minimum.
Back to 150. I used to get it. We got it every five. Like, so, you know, the HELOC and people get.
It doesn't.
Same thing.
You win the lottery.
Yes.
Yes.
The setup.
Okay, let's.
There are people that have to.
Yes.
And it was just.
School at that time, or they do it by songs.
Yeah. We've been very busy so far.
If they have a question too. Anybody really does?
They ask us how much you're gonna rent. But if you don't have it already rented, you don't own it, so.
Just raise the refrigerator.
You have to already have a tenant ready.
I was gonna say, we tied today, but it's basically just cover.
And then when we got to.
I heard your name.
And they were
not. That's really good.
It's better to do it. It's easier.
But in real estate, people are just used to it. So some feel, and I don't even know what paperwork I'm bringing over about. I have no idea. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I know you're saying.
Good to see you.
You too.
Hopefully you'll get to Elton John later.
No, I have to. He's like the dream person to have to see in person.
No, it's not a double mortgage. What you're talking about is a cash out refinance. So they take the difference between what you think it's gonna trade for versus what you owe. And then you can say.